There he is. Every winter, around early February, maybe the beginning of March, you start to hear just this one Pacific tree frog. Some half-frozen, overly anxious, really lonely guy calling out for love. And then, just a few weeks later, and then before you know it, it's late March, early April, and spring hits big time on Canada's west coast. Ah, there's that boot. Now look up, way up. The sun is shining, the breeze is fresh with new growth on the cedars and the fir trees. It's full-on gardening season here on Gabriola, and I think it's time to head on down to the farm for a little visit with Gabriel and Jeff Reitkerk. Jeff used to be an arborist here on the island. I had him do some work at my place, and I remember him up in the top branches of this big leaf maple I have on my property. He's swinging and dancing between the limbs, kind of like that warrior, that martial arts character that was swinging around in the bamboo forest of the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Well, now he's back on terra firma, and with his partner Sonia and their kids, they run a nut tree and flower farm that they call Just Another Weed Patch. On this episode of Straight Outta Gabriola, I tour the weed patch farm with Jeff. We bomb around on his little converted golf buggy, and we take a deep dive into the gardening world of mulching, manuring, permaculture techniques, and good chicken care. If you're thinking about getting serious with the idea of becoming a new grower, a gardener, a smallhold farmer, Jeff's got some great insights here. He's done a fair amount of deep thinking on it all, the life of an island farmer and his place to care for the land and the beautiful connection with land and family. Here's Jeff to tell his story. Hey, Ducks. Hey, Doug. Hi, buddy. Hello, dogs. Hello, little Mexican dog. Where's Pop?
Dad? He's just outside the field.
Okay, I'll go wander out and find him.
Okay. Yep. He's just over there.
Oh, there. Oh, yeah, I can see
buggy.
him.
How you doing, man?
Oh, good to see you, man. Yeah, how you keeping? You shake it off a bit?
Yeah, I've shaken it off a little.
Yeah, it'll hang on like tuberculosis for quite some time.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? I didn't realize that the weed patch went back quite a ways.
Oh,
then
yeah.
How many acres is here?
This lot is 23 acres.
Yeah, 23. Wow.
And we have about 4 acres that are deer fenced.
Right.
And that was the bones that we bought.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Had the lot, and there was a couple barns.
Yeah.
And the house, and an old tractor and an old dump truck and all kinds of stuff. There's lots of junk.
Yeah.
But lots of treasure too, as the previous owner told me. It's like there's treasure out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and sure enough, there is. We have a joke where that if you really need something simple, it's probably here.
Yeah.
Bolts, nuts, boards of various sizes.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. It's probably here because there's some old waste piles in the woods and evidence of previous history. How did we get here? Because we were definitely not looking for a 23 acre lot.
Yeah.
And to run a farm per se,
Yeah.
So this whole process has got me thinking about how we got here and what the words mean, like farm and even family and all that kind of stuff. Because really, we were gardeners. We loved to garden, and we were on a path. We lived in Victoria for many years, and we were on a path with horticulture, learning about gardening and restoration down there, because of course it's a big thing with the Garry Oak ecosystems and stuff. So we were doing that, and at the same time getting involved with the community and childcare. Volunteering, Big Brothers, community respite.
Yeah.
And then we got got involved with the ministry doing foster respite and stuff too. So we had those two paths going, and had a good gig. Like I ended up working in arboriculture.
Yeah.
Had a great job down there, but it was Sonia who was really pushing to branch out a little bit and started looking for other work. And here's this job, this great job, and but you have to move to Gabriel Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we lived in a rental house for 2 years while we looked for some place to grow this garden.
Right. Because that was starting to materialize. Let's grow some food and do some other things.
We took a break from childcare, and we just wanted that home where we had sun and full sun and water, and nice neighborhood. We would have settled almost anywhere, but that's hard to find.
It is, yeah.
Full sun and good water on Gabriola. Yeah. You wrestle with whether to live near the ocean or not.
That's right.
It's colder near the ocean.
Yeah.
It's blowy, and there's not as good soil. So.
And did you do a little bit of research into, like, as you know, on this island, there's a little microclimates that everyone talks about, like where we are, we're kind of south-facing below the cliff, and so they say, we get a jump of, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks, or we can grow, citrus fruit, but we can't. But anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can. You can stretch it out.
You can stretch it out. But here you did a bit of research and knew that full sun, great soil, right? This area is known for just amazing soil and good water.
All of the sky that you can suddenly see too, right? So there's good light, and did a little bit of research. You can see the soil maps. You can look, you get that information, so you find out that we just approached this landowner. Yeah. Quick negotiation, and bam, then we have the weed patch. So here we are.
And then the vision of the weed patch was, obviously they had certain beds established and fruit trees and things like that, but did you decide we're gonna like a business plus a self-sustaining
we kind of we had to come up with something, because it's a big piece of agricultural land reserve. We felt a responsibility that we had to do something with this place, besides just growing our little garden, right, which you can see. Basically, that's all we wanted. What you see in front of us there, there's some garlic and onions, and we got tomatoes, and you put a couple of trees around the side, and we would have been fine with that.
Yeah, and that's like a fenced-in area of about how big is that? Would you say?
It's like 100 foot by 40 feet, something like that. And initially, we came here and just fenced that off and got gardening. Yeah, but the bones were here. The other beds, everything was overgrown. Yeah, and it was it happens a lot, or more often than people would like to admit. But where agricultural projects are started and they fail after a few years. Yeah, right, for whatever reason, you don't water the trees, or we can tell now from the evidence that what battles they faced with weeds, right, and with water. We've learned a lot, but still, we sat around for about 1.5 years on the property trying to come up with something. The most powerful thing in the whole property that we saw anyway was this walnut tree, this English walnut tree that you see there in front of the barn. Yeah, it's about 30 feet high, and great spread on it, and it's a prolific producer. Yeah. It's covered in nuts. There's like 2,000 nuts on that tree, easily. The branches just drape down to the ground, and they're so tasty. Yeah. So wow, a walnut tree will grow here. Yeah. So it gets you thinking about other nuts then, right? Thinking about walnut trees. Let's grow a whack more walnut trees, and we had a few themes going to with pumpkins. We were playing around growing styrene pumpkins. Mm-hmm. They're a shell-less seed, super tasty, very popular in Europe. Mm-hmm. We suddenly got this vision of rows of walnut trees with intercropped with pumpkins. Yeah, and then somehow having chickens involved too, and we came up with the concept of the mobile coop. Right. We've got one in service right there. We've got 5 coops. So that vision that came in, and we started going on it. It turns out that we put all those things together, growing trees for different reasons, intercropping, having grazing animals around them. They call that agroforestry. We didn't know that, really. I mean, it's a super cool term.
Well, it's kind of a tip of a hat to your previous career in the trees, too.
It made sense, yeah. It's like, wow, the wind just blew us here.
Yeah.
And we had this opportunity. Well, there was a push within the Ministry of Agriculture, an agroforestry development initiative.
Right.
So they were looking for projects to invest in.
So it's both tech transfer, knowledge transfer, and they have some money to put in. Like
that's exactly right, and that was the main thing. It was funding. It was support and funding. So they subsidized almost everything for us. Purchase of trees. When we had to lay out a pretty extensive plan, of course. But trees, they love the mobile coop idea, so that was subsidized. Some irrigation to get going, and some drainage features that we had to do. Right. So it was a significant investment on our part too. It started as a garden. It became a farm.
Yeah.
And then it's an agroforestry operation, agroforestry type of agriculture. And now, we've broken off into growing cut flowers. Well, that's called floriculture. And now the way that we do it, you could call that slow flowers. Yes. So it's like a lesson in semantics here, and terminology.
I like
right?
slow flowers. But like the slow food it's not like a high production greenhouse hydroponic operation where you're just pumping out flowers for
Exactly. It's a savage industry, really. The cut flower industry is this global industry that really runs on lots of herbicides and pesticides and all kinds of fossil fuel to transport these out of season flowers, around the world and things like that. So, the typical kind of thing that you'd see with big agriculture.
Yeah. So the niche here for cut flowers is just a nice little. Well, we can have a look around. Let's hop in.
The buggy.
Let's hop in the buggy. I love the buggy.
Oh man. Just start right here. These are some of the first trees that we planted. These are butternut trees. These are Juglans cinerea, and they could produce a nut that you can eat. It's a really hard to crack nut. It's a Carolinian tree species. It's from, these are grown in southern Ontario.
Okay.
But their butternuts are all over the place. But they're also a good timber tree.
Right.
So that's the other component with agroforestry. No. This tree is the we call it Ricky.
Yeah.
It's a Ricky tree. It's got that lean on it because the legend says that there was a horse named Ricky that was pissed off about something and started rubbing on this tree and gave it that lean. But I think it's about 30 years old.
And a heavy producer, like you say.
Heavy producer. I mean, you can see all the baby nuts on it now. You see those are the little female flowers there. Yeah. They're collecting pollen and stuff, so... Yeah, got inspired and then got planting, and on paper it looked like it was going to be very cut and dried, like we just packed it full of trees. Yeah. But of course, when we started planting, we found variations in the soil and evidence of previous structures and soil contamination and junk and different things. So some places we couldn't plant. Some places trees are doing better than others.
Right.
But we're driving through this little walnut grove now.
Right. Yeah.
And all of these trees came from a nursery in Ontario, Grimo Nursery, and they all came in a box in the mail. They're all bare root trees, most of them grafted.
And these are how old now, would you say?
This is year 7. This is year 7.
That's pretty good growth.
Yeah, they're doing all right. We had a few struggles. I've learned some lessons in the importance of mulch. We've been mulching heavy for a long time, but this is the first year, too, where we're not weeding this mulch ring around the tree. We're letting the roots of the tree just go now and coexist with the grass and the meadow here, like it's an old hayfield. Yeah. So initially it would have been too much competition for the tree roots. Right. But now they're established, and it would be, we don't want to damage those roots by lifting up the grass and weeding. So it's kind of exciting. I just kind of mowed the weeds that were growing up underneath them, and then just laid down some of my custom mulch.
Hey, buddy.
The dog, he just loves the cart.
Hey, buddy. I was going to ask you too about water. So this property is good water for well water. It's a good supply because I've heard all along this area is a really sweet spot on the island for water quantity.
Yeah, we haven't had any issues.
Yeah,
and we were, and for the first couple of years we were sucking a lot of water, so we weren't collecting any rainwater. But now we have several rainwater collection cisterns off these roofs.
Yeah.
I think we're at 11,000 gallons or something. And but it's a little more complicated to pump that out then and get it into a system. I have some, like all these trees, there's pipes for all the trees. I lay them on top of the grass during the worst of the summer.
Right.
And they've got emitters or soaker hoses and stuff. But lately, the last 2 seasons, I've been watering most of them by hand because the other little trick I've learned is to feed the trees and everything else kelp. Feed them kelp. We get a concentrated kelp liquid listed as an Acadian sea kelp, and I'll drench the roots. And lately, I have the tank in the back here. This is for a full year spray.
Right.
So I'm spraying the leaves too, and it's been like night and day. Some trees were struggling a little bit, and we managed to turn them all around.
Because that was a question I was going to ask you about too with this, is just the whole amendments.
Yeah, horse manure, wood chips, whatever we can get our hands on, grass clippings, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of slow flower here, we're just coming around in the corner of the property. This is too wet for us to plant nut trees and stuff. So we moved into, this is a red osier dogwood, and here we have some pussy willows and different willow species. Yeah. And that's part of our next push with floral products is woody perennials. Ornamental stems and flowers and catkins in the case of these willows here. Yeah. So age in place here on this farm, that'll kind of take over, I think, because it is really intensive to grow. It's a lot to annual.
Driving around in that buggy, I kind of wish we had a soundtrack for it. It just, I think we looked so badass. Here's one. It's Kahlua by the band Orchestral Movement of 1932. I'll give you a little slice of it right now.
Get kind of dorky about mulching it, and this is my latest thing that is inspired by not just adding nutrient and good rooting environment for the trees, but also armor from the chickens. As you'll see, the chickens work in this field for several years now, and leaving lots of manure behind, and scratching and flailing, but in the initial tree ring and right around the base of the tree where the soil is looser, they can do a lot of damage.
Right, they start exposing the roots, right? And
totally. Yeah. So here we've got bark plates from firewood, this grand fir plates, and I'll take big, smaller chunks of wood and lay them out, and then I'll put on a layer of, manure and mulch and stuff on top of that, so the chickens can't scratch through. A tree, I think almost all trees want to be in some kind of forest. They want to have that diversity of woody material and debris and organics and stuff around there. Putting them in a sterile pot or a sterile kind of hole, isn't good enough.
They need all the microorganisms and beneficial
fungi, the mycorrhiza fungi. So I always see that on logs and stuff in the woods. So I've been processing firewood for a while here, and that just suddenly came to me. I'm just going to lay out that stuff because I've gotten beyond the look of it too. Initially, when we had all of these beautiful, evenly spaced tree rings around it, it was really kind of surreal and beautiful in a manicured kind of way. So I really dug it for a while, and for a while there was no weeds underneath my trees, like for about 3 or 4 years, none. Yeah. But now I realize that's at some point you got to let it go. But here, look at this tree. This is our best one. Yeah. A grafted English walnut, and we've got it right on the end of what we called a hugelkultur bed.
Okay.
So this is basically just a double dug garden bed where we took the soil out and down to about 3 feet and then started layering woody debris.
Right.
Alder logs, branches, wood chips, and slowly getting finer as we came up to the top. And at one point they were mounded up here about 4 feet. It's all kind of settled down, but we get amazing production out of these beds for our daffodils and tulips, and then once those things are off, we grow pumpkins on here too. Right. But this tree is right there, and its roots have obviously keyed into all that material, and its growth is double the size of everything.
Right. Yeah. And it's the same age as this
same
whole
age.
Line of
Came in the same box.
30.
Came in the same box, so I don't have a big sample size to really prove that that's true.
Yeah.
But all of the trees that are even close by here are doing a bit better.
Yeah. Called, what is it?
Hugelculture. And Hugel, I think, is mound. So again, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. People have been doing it all the time for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah. This supplies your house primarily, this big veggie patch here, which is about the same size as the other one, like about 100 by 40 or something like that.
Yeah. And we'll grow a lot of our own food here.
Yeah.
We're mixing stuff up. We've got brought in some dahlias and growing them in here this year.
Yeah.
But all the basics we get for ourselves. And lots of fun, but we're way behind. We've never been this far behind.
And that was what I was going to ask you about too, because I think fall into this thing where I look at the calendar and I get impatient and I better get seeding stuff outside, and then of course nothing germinates because the soil's too cold.
Yes.
Or there's just not enough sun hours or whatever. Like, have you now?
We know exactly when we got to start stuff, and like lots of the growers will. You got a greenhouse, you don't have to worry about soil temperature and stuff. You just got to get your starts going,
right?
And or beds that are under a greenhouse, or we put up little hoops to warm up the soil and extend the season a little bit. We're in the hazelnut grove here too. We've been driving as we're talking, and these are our hazelnuts. We have 75 of them,
right?
And they didn't come in a box. They were a little bit bigger. They were in pots, but tiny little trees. So we brought them all here in our pickup truck.
Right. And are they all producing now? Are you getting nuts out of these?
Yeah. They're the easiest nut crop, I think, to grow around here.
Right. And so you got the girls are all over here set up with you've moved the mobile chicken area over here, and you want this worked up a bit and fertilized. Is that what you're looking at?
That's right. Yeah, this is kind of new. I've been keeping the chickens out of the critical root zone of these trees until this year. Just like with the mulching, I'm not weeding it out.
Yeah.
So here, what I did before they came to these hazelnuts is I just bombed down lots of aged horse manure around the base of the tree, and now the chickens are coming and kind of spreading that around and loosening up some of the weeds for me. Yeah. And I'll take them out just before they start to do damage. And then where they found some soft spots, I've done what you see there. I've cut up some Himalayan blackberry, which we have an ongoing war with.
And we all do, yeah.
But and I had no real use for it until a couple of years ago, and I'm like, wow, this is great armored mulch for the tree.
Chickens don't want to be dealing with that too much if they can go somewhere else.
And it breaks down. If I ran a mulching mower over it, it would just kind of chop it all up. And it keeps the soil cool too, but water can flow through it. We have 4 mobile coops here.
Yeah.
Chickens are very lucky. They get to form their own kind of squads and social groups. They get to lay in other nests. They get to move around. The girls from the red coop will go and sneak into the green coop, and depending on their personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many do you have right now for chickens?
I've been slowly working down. We probably had about 60 at one point. 60 hens. Now I'm down to maybe 32.
Yeah.
I'll move these coops every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then I've got a little fence around them to keep them kind of contained.
Yeah. In
a general area, and I'll move that area maybe every week and a half or 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
They'll move around and do their thing.
You were referring to the horse manure well composted before, and I was going to ask you about that, because I think What's your favorite manure? Do you have is it catch as catch can with manure?
Well, yeah.
Whatever you can find on the island and get a hold of?
Well, we toyed with the idea of having an alpaca just for the manure. Get a couple of alpacas and, manage them. Yeah, I think horse manure is pretty good. I mean, chicken manure is not bad, but I hear tell that alpaca manure is like rocket fuel.
Oh, really?
Right, it comes in the nice little nuggets and everything. It's pretty good. Yeah. But I'm surrounded by horses.
Yeah, so
it's a no-brainer. And so I've got lots of horse manure, although, we work to collect it and I'll age it and over the course of the winter, but I'll use it all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how, and wood chips too. If I would just use as much as I can. We'll probably use about 20 yards total. Yeah. So we're coming to the end of the hazelnuts here, just cruising through. Some are doing better than others. Yeah. Again, this is a bit of a wet spot. But then it comes out, and here we're into the Japanese heartnut.
Oh.
You can see the catkins, the big giant catkins are about 5 inches long, or just finishing up. And tree from Japan, it's in the walnut family, and it has a little nut that really is shaped like a heart. Yeah. A bit harder to crack, a bit smaller, but if you crack it on the right angle, boom, it opens up, and not only is the shell really pretty, but the meat is in the shape of a heart, and it's pretty tasty. So we're planning some lucrative Valentine's Day products with that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying.
And we're out at the end, we're at the frontier here where the deer fence starts.
Okay.
And we go through that gate, and the taller trees you see in behind are an elder cedar.
Yeah.
The property kind of goes down that way, so like I say, we really felt we had to do something and not just let this place waste away.
Yeah, agricultural land, right? Yeah. Which is is on this coast is where it's good soil and it's reserved as agricultural. You do really feel a responsibility to that, don't you?
You do. They give you a little bit of incentive to do something, like you get a tax break, right?
Yeah.
You get a tax break if you produce a minimum, depending on your size, a minimum amount of income from the land. So we got to do something, but that's easy. I could just do that with chickens.
Yeah,
I think for a piece of land this big, it's maybe $2,000 or $2,500. Yeah, and we get that easily with the chickens.
Yeah. On this island in the last few years too, maybe the last 10. I mean, there has been a real growth in small farm holds that are really doing a great job on the land. Like they're producing a lot of food out of the, we got Heart and Soil, of course, Good Earth, and Roisin has been around, the Oracle, Bob and Roisin, right, have been around for years. We should, one quick look at your Kubota there. It's your rock star,
I've done a lot of digging in my time with the shovel.
Yeah.
The shovel's an old friend of mine, and the hoe and the weeding fork and stuff. But when you get to this level, with planting 6 or 8 trees is one thing, but doing 250 trees and carting stuff around, like, it's been a game changer.
Yeah, you need a mechanical advantage.
Big time. So the little, it's just the perfect size. I mean, the tractors are so ridiculously expensive. It's like boat motors. Like, what? How would that costs that much? But worth every penny.
Yeah.
Worth every penny, and all the we get some help from time to time, and this guy, I don't know, I'd probably have a broken back by now if I didn't have a tractor. Yeah. So don't underestimate, all you young farmers, don't underestimate the toil that it's going to take
on the body.
Yeah,
because it does.
And if that breaks down, I mean, you're done. You're done. The weeds are going to take over. Next thing you know, it's bindweed everywhere, and your trees are dying, and there's house sparrows taking over your swallow boxes, and it's just mayhem.
Yeah.
Greenhouse here.
Yeah. Now, was that here when you?
It was here.
Yeah,
it was here. Of course, it was. Beauty. You couldn't get inside it because it was just full of blackberry and weeds. It hadn't been used in several seasons. Yeah. It was falling apart. You can see the new wood on it now.
Yes.
We've upgraded the wall structure.
Yeah.
But it's this old polycarbonate shell that's still in great shape, and we use that primarily for starting plants. We do all of our starts in here and stuff. We have a couple small beds, as you can see, with lettuce and peppers and I don't even know what it all is, but I'm kind of the mulching potatoes end of the operation. My wife does all the starts, and she's a great florist and floral arranger, I have to say. So she knows what she wants and picks the plants out, and we just seed throughout the season.
Yeah. How is that built up for the floral business?
We have a community sponsored agriculture subscription that people get, and they get we either have arrangements or buckets of loose flowers that people can arrange themselves, and they get either a weekly subscription or a monthly subscription, and it's throughout the season. And we sell out in February.
Wow.
So it's great. That's all local. Yeah. And then we do some one-off things if people give us enough time. I don't know how many weddings we're at this year. There's probably about 6 or 8 weddings. If we looked a little further, we see some of the resident snakes. We have some big garter snakes here. We like to keep a lot of tall grass. That mix of tall grass and whatever else. It just attracts some of the thrushes and goldfinch. We got a lot of siskins right now. So don't get me started about the birds. It's like a dream come true here for me with the forest next door.
You got mature forest, lots of edge, and it's a great diverse habitat you've got going. So it does attract a lot of birds.
It sure does. Yeah. So that's.
All right.
That's it. That's my
That's
day.
A great tour.
But that the other thing about this farm is that we have to be a hardworking family to have this farm. Like my wife can't, she has to have, somebody has to have a full-time job because we can't make a living. Of course. Cut flowers and growing walnut trees. So she's got to work hard at that. I have to work hard here at the farm. We try and instill a work ethic in our kids. About hard work, but for us too, and that's the kind of the other line that we've been on, or this other path that we've been on, like with growing a garden, but also helping kids and being involved with childcare, and we have to work hard to be a family. It was hard there's a lot of steps that you have to take through adoption. We have 3 adopted kids. Again, it's just
and because in many circumstances with families, working on a farm never lets up, and it is an all hands on deck thing.
It's true. Yeah, we all have responsibility. Kids, they don't have that fever in them like we do with the garden and the jobs and stuff. So we have to try and push a little bit, but we can't push too much. We have to respect where they're coming from and their background and all that. So.
And you don't want them to just hate it, right? Which is the other part of it. You push too hard and they just hate it.
They just hate it, but it's working out. It's this property, this land. Again, it's so much has happened to it. Yeah, it's been stolen. The whole place was stolen and then dug up and subdivided, and then drainage changed and stuff. We don't want that to be for naught. We are trying to make the best of it and get something going here. And then we had all this time too. So, it really coincided with the creation of our family. It was like, wow, we have this space. We got this time. We're living with these trees. We've got opportunity to help these kids. So. We're quite proud of it. Our first son, he was, his time had come to be adopted, right around the same time that we were finalizing the deal on this property. So it was a decision that we were presented with, do you want to be a part of this guy's life? The ministry is really good at keeping you involved and stuff, and they let us know the alternative, what was going to happen to him. He's going to continue in foster care and kind of be shuffled around a little bit, and it turned, again, with words and stuff, the best way that we can help kids, the best way you can do it, the most effective way, is to be a family. That's the best unit for helping them out, right? You can be a big brother, you can be a volunteer, and that's all part of it, but to be the most effective, you got to be a mom and a dad. Yeah. So it was like, bam. All right, let's do it. That's how a big part of the decision. And then when other kids become available, if you open your if you just stop right in the world and sit and open your heart and look around, it's going to be filled with something. If you let it, the void is just so, or the need is so great.
Yeah.
So we just stopped for a second to kind of look around, and
here we are.
There's 2 more kids. There's 2 more. If you want it now, here's what's going to happen to them. So it was, it's a ton of work and stuff. But again, we were inspired by this garden.
It's setting down roots in all kinds of ways. Roots for you, roots for the family. These kids, you're giving them a place that is going to be some place that they can always say, like as a mom and a dad, a place to come back to.
Yeah, a place to come back to, and a place to keep them safe. I mean, the community of Gabriola is just so wonderful. It was like a no-brainer. So we just kind of opened our hearts and minds to the whole thing, and the garden became a farm, and we became a family.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool.
Thanks to Jeff for a great day on the farm, and thank you for listening. And to close the show, here's the perfect spring song for all you farmers and gardeners out there. It's from that groovy Gabriola band, the Kerplunks, and their new magnum opus CD for chilling out, Lullabies for Big Eyes. The first episode of this podcast series featured my visit with the band's co-founder, Dinah D. Check it out. Now here's Dinah in a lovely duet with bandmate Aaron Cadwallader called Rain on the Roof.
Hit the